Okay, hello everybody and welcome to this EPB session for Arctic Science Summit Week 2020 online. Unfortunately, we're not in Akureyri, as you all know, but I've worn my Icelandic jumper anyway. We have Renuka Badhe, who's going to speak about the European Polar Board and particularly on our 25th anniversary, which is this year, 2020. My name is Joseph Nolan. I work at the European Polar Board as well with Renuka. So before we start the presentation, just for technical things, if you have a question for Renuka, you can type that into the Q&A box if you click the button at the bottom of your screen, and we'll then make sure Renuka can answer those questions. Before Renuka's presentation, we're going to show a short video that will introduce the EPB. So yeah, Renuka, your screen seems to have frozen a little bit. I hope it's okay.
I think it's okay. I'm just going to shut my video. I'll say hi before I start my talk, but my Wi-Fi hasn't been very stable over the last few hours, so I'll just try to shut my video off for now.
Okay, so I'll turn off my video as well, and then
Thanks,
we'll share the video.
European Polar Board is a European independent organization. It's based on the national memberships from the countries who do the polar research. And when we talk about the polar research, we mean both Arctic and the Antarctic research. So by doing concrete activities together with the members and also with other polar organizations internationally, we are able to really tackle the problems, the global problems in the polar regions.
The world is now fully convinced of the paramount role of polar regions in the future of our planet, be it for the climate or for the environment. And I think that because of that, EPB is a wonderful forum for individual European countries with eventually diverging views on some elements to put together their scientific opinions in a coordinated message to the policymakers.
The vision I see for the European Polar Board is to become even a stronger leader and a facilitator in focusing on the collaboration of research partners within Europe. And I also see the European Polar Board as a strong leader in coordinating the outreach of our fantastic polar research we have here in Europe and bring it to the policymakers.
The vision of the European Polar Board, to my opinion, is the importance is to be the front end for the polar research community. So to become the door through which other external people, the Commission, Economic Board, the society can be in contact with the polar community and to have the role to mobilize inside this community the right expertise and competencies with respect to the challenge and the question that can be raised by the society.
Our vision for the EPB and its future is to make sure that it can really add value across the whole of polar science and polar logistics, that it really finds the gaps and the things that other people aren't doing, and we can make sure the EPB does those successfully. There are such fantastic links to make between North and South, and we really need to make sure that the EPB can focus really closely on those.
What the European Polar Board brings to the Netherlands is that we are actually hosting the European Polar Board at my office in The Hague. And we benefit a lot because it's a very good networking organization.
DPB has mainly benefited our foundation because it allows us to link with other stakeholders within the European arena working in the polar regions.
I think that benefits for my institution and my country mainly are the contacts that we can establish here in the EPB and to adopt the same way on doing things in polar regions. So in the scientific field and also logistics.
We strive to collaborate as much as possible in the international research world, and EPB is an important actor there, and we are very happy to be a part of it, and it means a lot to our university as well.
And I'm sure that the European Polar Board is a very important institution in Europe, because it's coordinating the scientific and logistic activities of the European countries in the polar regions.
And that's the way to make that Europe exist, because Europe as such has no special existence in the Arctic or in Antarctica. There is no European station, for instance. So we have to build up a kind of a networking, and that's the role of EPB.
I think the main benefits for my organization is that the networking, the contacts we can make with other polar researchers, and also it's a source of first-hand information on polar activities. I think EPB is doing very well, and I would hope that it remains the voice of European polar research, and it remains an authoritative central contact point for polar research, able to provide independent advice to policymakers, able to coordinate polar research, to promote polar research at the European level.
Well, the European Polar Board is bringing together both the small, medium and the large-size countries in polar science. It is only through international collaboration which we can make progress in science.
A newly built strategy is that the EPB should be the voice of European polar research. And I think that's the vision. So we should be proactive in coordinating the needs of the polar community in Europe. It is the strength of the EPB is certainly that it has many European nations involved, and not only the large ones. So they all have the same voice. That's the strength. We are all sitting at the table and discussing on an equal level.
I think and I hope that the EPB will extend and it will gain more and more members, and that it will really help bringing together the poles, the Arctic and the Antarctic community.
We are bringing enthusiasm, we are bringing activity, and we are bringing a lot of good science.
What European Polar Board does is help us all come together and share those ideas, share logistic ideas, share science ideas, and I think, we form a really good family of European polar organisations.
Okay, so that was a little bit of a introduction to the European Polar Board. I hope you could all see the video clearly enough. If not, you can view it again on our YouTube channel. But now I'm going to pass over to Renuka, who will introduce herself and then continue with her talk. So Renuka, if you want to share your slides.
Hello, I just wanted to say a quick hello before I shut my camera down due to bandwidth issues. Thank you very much for joining this little talk. We were supposed to have a full-scale panel discussion, but due to this being converted into an online session, we thought it would be better to give a bit more of an idea of what the EPB is, what the EPB does, and then hopefully hold the panel discussion a little bit later in a detailed way, with either in an online on an online forum using the EPB YouTube channel, or at any of the next conferences that will be held in person. So thank you very much for joining us again, and I'll just start my talk in a minute. Just give me a second. Okay, so as you've heard, the EPB is the EPB has been a part of the European Polar Committee for quite a few years now. It started in 1995, and we are celebrating its 25th anniversary this year. And the European Arctic and Antarctic research community has always been a leader in cooperation across national and disciplinary boundaries. And the EPB has definitely supported Europe's leadership on these kind of polar issues. And it's been working at the interface between research and policy across the widest variety of disciplines here in Europe. So thank you for joining me for this lecture on the European Polar Board, 25 years at the confluence of science and policy in the polar regions. So I would like to just raise a little bit of a cheer for the EPB. It's been 25 years going strong, and we are definitely looking forward to the next 25 years, if not any less, for working even stronger at the confluence of science and policy in the polar regions. The EPB's mission is underwritten by its strategy developed by all of its members together. And its mission is to promote, coordinate, and advance European research in the high latitudes by providing a single collaborative platform for European polar researchers. Now, the way it does that is by working with a range of different partners. We have international partners like IASC, UArctic, COMNAP, FARO, APEX, and SCAR. We have a range of European partners and also regional counterparts to the European Polar Board. Our biggest strength is the composite and comprehensive membership of organizations within the EPB. We are effective due to the world-leading expertise of our members brought together. They include expertise on research, on funding. We have plenty of national polar programs as our members. We have research institutions. We have national funding agencies and university centers from across Europe. And we represent the widest variety of polar research communities in 19 countries through our 27 EPB members. One of our other biggest strengths is that we have a bipolar vision. Many of our members work on both polar regions, Arctic and Antarctic. Our members represent quite a strong infrastructure capability also. Our members either operate or manage 20 polar research vessels. We have our members either operate or manage 7 aircraft and 67 polar research field facilities. So how does the EPB actually do its business? We act as the we give opportunity to all of our members, and we promote multilateral collaborative activities between our members and also for our members and the communities that they represent. The EPB provides a single contact point through which all of its members can be reached in one go. Our members routinely and actively share knowledge and best practices. Now, this is really important because our members, as I just said, come from a very wide variety of backgrounds. So they have quite a lot of knowledge and expertise that they have developed working in their field. So this is a big benefit for all our members, where they can sit and share knowledge and best practices from their experience working in the polar regions. And we are also one of the very few organizations that bring both Arctic and Antarctic polar research together, but with a particularly European focus. So how does the EPB actually do its work? So we have something on an internal basis, which are action groups. And we also work with externally funded projects where the EPB plays a wide variety of roles. The action groups have very defined activities that they need to perform within a limited lifetime. Currently, EPB has 5 action groups that are active, and I'll give you an example of a couple of action groups that might be of interest to the people listening. So one of our first action groups is the action group on polar infrastructure. And what this action group has done is that we've worked quite strongly with a project called EU PolarNet, which I will go into detail in a few slides from now. And one of the deliverables from that project was a catalog of European infrastructure available. What we did was we took that over as a legacy document to ensure that such an important piece of work produced by EU PolarNet can be maintained and also updated in the future. So this is available for all of the community on the EPB website. So if you go to the EPB website and click on polar infrastructure, you should be able to access all of the details given within the catalog. Now this catalog includes all of the details of the stations, camps, laboratories, and shelters, vessels, and aircraft that we collected through EU PolarNet. This action group on infrastructure is also looking forward to share and work towards harmonizing access requirements between all of these different facilities that are owned by different organizations and managed by different countries. This we feel will benefit not just EPB members, but also a large part of the community, which will find that they can access these facilities in a much easier way. This is one of the biggest aims of this action group on infrastructure. Hopefully, the work carried out by this action group will lead to tools and further coordinated initiatives that can support collaboration with international partners, not just for EPB, but also the wider community. The second example of an action group that the EPB has currently is the action group on environmental impacts of polar research and logistics. Now, we are all aware that when we are participating in polar research, we have quite a large carbon footprint just because of the amount of travel required to get to the polar regions. So what we are trying to do is to ensure that the science that is to be carried out in the polar regions has hopefully has the lowest impact possible. The areas of focus that this action group is working on is to try and reduce the use of plastics in polar research and logistics. It's also looking at the differences between environmental degradation due to activities of humans and also the impacts of climate change on the polar research environment. So we are trying to make sure that there's a distinction between these. The action group will also consider the impact of these activities on of research activities on the polar region, such as sampling or on the wildlife that's present there. And we will also look at some of the direct and indirect environmental impact of human activities, and to make sure that cumulative impacts are looked at also. So what's expected from this action group? We are expecting to produce a short synthesis report, which will be available online on the EPB website. This report will have details on the kind of activities that are carried out in the polar regions, the research activities that are carried out in the polar regions, and what their potential environmental impact is. We will also include information on the type of legal frameworks that are present. Also, we will try and share as many best practices and tools for minimizing environmental impacts that our members can bring forward. And these will include any gaps in knowledge. This report will also definitely have recommendation and practical guidelines for everyone, for operators, research groups, and also for decision makers. And to make sure that the message reaches everyone in the best possible way, we'll also have summaries that will be produced specifically aiming for different stakeholders. So we should have some summaries for policymakers, for example. We'll have suggestions for researchers that are going to the polar regions, and also our own EPB members and operators of the research programs. So going on towards projects, like I said, we also work with quite a few different externally funded projects. EPB plays a variety of different roles. We currently have 4 projects that are ongoing with quite a wide variety of topics that are being looked at. The first project that I'd like to introduce to you is called Choice Epidemiology. And this diagram shows us the global exploration roadmap, shows us what kind of activities are planned in the realm of space research in the coming decades. A lot of these are human space flight programs. And the human space flight is used, research on human space flight takes into account research in the polar regions quite a lot, because when researchers stay in the polar regions over winter, for example, they are also in similar conditions where they're quite strongly isolated, and they show quite a lot of the same responses, for example, to stress, that people have found, that researchers have found during human space flight. So this project was set up with ESA, with the University of Munich. And the background of this work was carried out in Concordia, which is a station run by 2 of our EPB members, EPEV and PNRA. From there came Choice Epidemiology, and what this project is doing is to try and investigate the epidemiology of any newly developed allergic reactions in staff that spend the entire winter at the stations. Now this, for this project through the EPB, ESA was able to contact all of the EPB members and have developed this project further by collaborating with the members that were interested in this project. This was really possible due to EPB acting as a single contact point for all our members. The main objective of this research is to inform space travel, but it also informs on the health of employees of our EPB members that live in long-term isolation in the polar regions. So it's to the benefit of both individuals who will perform space travel, but also employees that are already living at the polar regions. And then we also have potential policy implications, because some of these aspects can also be helpful for health of the people who are already living in the polar regions, who do live in isolation for long periods of time. Now, the second project that I'd like to quickly introduce to you is called EU PolarNet. The EPB is an affiliated partner of this project. It's close to finishing, but it's what the achievements of this project have been quite amazing. The EPB has been heavily involved in a lot of the different activities carried out by this project, but one of the main activities that I'd like to show you is on assessing the polar priorities, where 10 overarching research themes with several key questions and of course the related societal relevance have been identified in a workshop to produce a set of coordinated white papers. Now, this white paper workshop included a large number of stakeholders. We ensured that we had everyone from the policy arena to, we also had indigenous people participating. We had science participation. We had anthropology, so social science participation. And what it's come out with is a set of 5 clear white papers. These are all available publicly on EU PolarNet website, which is given there. And the policy implication of these papers is that we saw different calls that were linked to the subject matter provided in these white papers. So we had, out of the 5 white papers that I showed you, there were 4 calls that were related to 4 of the white papers. And the 5th white paper indicated topics that were cross-cutting within all the different calls. So it's a really interesting way to see the direct policy implication of the science that's being produced by EU PolarNet, by the products that are produced by EU PolarNet. The next project that I'd like to quickly introduce to you is SOCHIC, and that's Southern Ocean Carbon and Heat Impact on Climate. It's a newly funded project. It's only started in November last year, and it has 15 different partners from 10 countries. And one of the first public outreach activities that will be carried out is going to be via a webinar that will be available on the EPB YouTube channel also in the future. So if you'd like to register for this, please do go to the EPB website or the SOCHIC website and register for this webinar, where you will find out information about the project and its upcoming activities. So if you'd like to stay in touch with the EPB and follow what it does, we have a host of different types of activities that we reach out to everyone with. We hold different panel discussions, and this photo shows the panel that we held in the last ASSW. We try and bring together both Arctic and Antarctic policy and research in these kind of panel discussions. We also have an active YouTube channel where we upload all the webinars that we have held so far. We also have little snippets of feedback from our members and what they perceive the EPB to be. Please do go and subscribe to this channel if you're interested in our activities. And we are also active on Twitter. where we provide information that's of use to our community. We also have a mailing list, and we try not to spam you too much. So we will only provide a few emails a month at maximum. So if you'd like to sign up to our mailing list, please do go to the EPB website, and there's the link for sign up on the website. Thank you very much for listening patiently, and I'd like to raise a cheer again for the EPB and its 25 years. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Renuka, for that comprehensive presentation of the EPB. We now have, well, we have plenty of time for any questions that anybody might have. So you can either type them, well, ideally, I think the best way is to type them into the Q&A box at the bottom. So if you click the Q&A button, you can type questions in there. Or alternatively, we can see if we can unmute you and you can ask it via audio. We have one question already that came in via the chat box that asks, are there any set criteria against which we measure the carbon footprint of Arctic and Antarctic researchers? So that's linking specifically to the action group on environmental impacts.
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. We are basically using the criteria that one of our members has developed. EPEV is doing quite a lot of work on this, and a lot of the membership of our action group has expertise in this area. So we are using all of their expertise in providing information on the carbon footprinting. We would provide references once the report is released to all the information that's been provided in that report.
Good. We've got another question come through on the question box from an anonymous attendee, which asks, will the EPB still include the UK after Brexit?
Yes, because the EPB's members are organizations rather than countries. EPB has a very active presence from our member from the UK, which is the NERC or UKRI, with the British Antarctic Survey and the UK Arctic Committee being represented quite actively on our board. So yeah, definitely we appreciate their presence, and they will still be EPB members after. I apologize for my voice, I just have a bit of a sore throat.
Got the virus. Yes, so yes, it's true. There's a lot of, well, several EPB members are not European Union members. They're from countries that are not European Union members. So the membership is not threatened by UK leaving the European Union. We don't have any more questions just at the moment, but I'll ask you, Renuka. Where do you see the EPB being in the next few years? We're celebrating the first 25 years, and another 25 years will hopefully be going from strength to strength, but in the more short term, maybe the next 5 to 10 years, what would you see as the key things on the horizon for the European Polar Board?
I think building on what our strengths are, it's quite good for EPB members to visualize what the next 10 years should be. We have quite a few good projects within the EPB that have the potential to span the next many years. For example, the example that I gave of the infrastructure catalog and then expanding that to include access to different or to unify access requirements for different for the different stations, for example, is quite a it's an ambitious project, but it's something that should be of great benefit to all of our members really. And the EPB members decide where they really want to go. So I'm sure they're already looking at all of the successes we've had so far, and they're definitely looking forward to the next 25 years.
Good. Unless we have any further questions, I think we are, well, we're definitely not going to run out of time anywhere near, but no, we've got a question coming through already. Here we go. This one comes from Polar Educators International, who and we're looking asking about the potential for collaboration between polar educators around the world and the EPB, and maybe you could touch on some of our communications activities that might be relevant with educators.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Polar Educators International, and I presume that's from Sophie.
Yes, from Sophie. Thank you, Sophie.
Thanks, Sophie, for that question. I think there's definitely places, there's definitely things that that we work on that would be of interest to PEI and the PEI community as well. I think there's, like Joseph said, we have quite a few communications activities that can directly be of interest. So we've had 5 webinars so far from the EPB, and some of them do have some educational content or content that might be useful for educators for sure. And if you'd like to suggest any further webinars that might be of use to both the EPB and PEI, we definitely look forward to those as well. Joseph, do you want to add anything from the communications aspect, since you're expert in communications, since you lead the communications of the EPB?
Well, I would say that as you meant, yeah, the webinars have definitely can be a good resource. We have a couple on there that give an overview, for example, of the Antarctic Treaty system, and another one of the Arctic Council and how that works, which would be very useful if you were teaching on those kind of topics. But also, I think through the EPB, as we've mentioned, we can be a contact through which you can contact our members, and a lot of our members have very active education activities within their own institutions at home. So through the EPB, we can put you in contact with those where it's suitable.
Yep, definitely. If you have any ideas, please do feel free to get in touch with us, Sophie, either you personally or through PEI. We look forward to your contact.
I have another question for you, Renuka. How does the EPB work with other polar organizations, such as IASC or in Antarctica with SCAR?
So one of the ways that the EPB works with different organizations, we have several memoranda of understanding with organizations, and we have one with IASC and SCAR. And we work at different levels with these organizations. So there's obviously we participate within the meetings itself. We help co-organize events. So for the next couple of years, there'll definitely be some coordinated events with SCAR under the SOCHIC project. We've worked with IASC to provide panel discussions and such. We also work at a secretariat to secretariat level to support different activities. And yeah, so it's, and we also work with the communities that IASC and SCAR represent. So we definitely work quite actively with different organizations and at many different levels. We have the same, since I see Apex presence, we have the same with Apex also. We work quite a lot with Apex. We ensure that our meetings, we have some APEX, either APEX comes to present their work at some of the EPB meetings, or we try and give some experience to APEX members to potentially help rapporteur at our EPB meetings. Or we also ensure that when we have different panel discussions and such, we at least try and answer any queries from an early career perspective, if there are any.
Good. We have another question that's come through on the question box regarding the Antarctic Treaty, and noting how the treaty will come to an end in several decades unless it is extended, and asking how what the EPB how is active regarding the treaty, and would it be involved in helping to extend the Antarctic Treaty into the future when it comes to that time?
So there's a couple of things to this question. The first thing is the Antarctic Treaty does not come to an end. It'll come up for if there are any changes, these will be brought up, and all of the treaty parties have to agree to any changes made. So the treaty itself is not in a danger of collapse. So that's one thing. The second is the EPB does not directly participate in the Antarctic Treaty. However, a lot of our members are delegates to the Antarctic Treaty, and we do have expertise on the EPB table from the Antarctic Treaty. So even though we are not direct participants within the treaty, we do have knowledge of what is going on currently there. And yeah, I'd just like to finish the answer by saying, please don't think that the Antarctic Treaty is in any danger of collapse. It's not.
Yeah, it's not something you need to worry about. But also I would note, particularly for this meeting, that in a similar way, a lot of the EPB members are active in their national delegations in the Arctic Council as well.
As well, yeah. Thanks, Joseph.
So we have both poles. A lot of our members are very active in the national level policy making and international policy making at both poles. We don't seem to have any more questions that are coming through just at the moment. So unless one comes in the next few seconds, I think we will wrap up here. I will note that this has been recorded, and we will be uploading the recording to our YouTube channel, so you'll be able to enjoy every moment again. As many times as you like. And also while you're there, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch all the rest of our videos. And you can find more information about the EPB on our website, europeanpolarboard.org. But with that, I would say thank you everybody for joining, and thank you for the questions.
Yep.
Enjoy the rest of the online Arctic Science Summit week. And thank you, Renuka.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining, everyone. Of course, if there are any questions after this presentation finishes, please feel free to contact us through the variety of ways that I have shown, either through our Twitter or webpage, or just directly through email. Please feel free for that. Thank you very much for joining in, and as Joseph said, enjoy the rest of the ASSW.
Bye-bye.
Bye.